Kawasaki, everybody tag Kawasaki. Let's get me sponsored by Kawasaki. Right, so what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another first ride review. Up for review today, no prizes for guessing what bike we are on. We are on the 2025 Kawasaki ZX6R. Those of you that will know me will know this is going to be quite an exciting video for me. Kawasaki seems to be my favourite brand of bike as of recent times, especially a Ninja. I got to love a Ninja. I've got a few Kawasaki's myself, so I am definitely a bit of a Kawasaki enthusiast, I guess you could say. So that is one reason why this video is super exciting for me. Also, the other reason is I myself have a 2003 ZX6R. So yeah, the ZX6R is one of my favourite bikes, and the newer ones are no exception at all. I love my older ones, but there is still a place in my heart for these newer ones. So yeah, I'm super intrigued to jump on this bike and see how it is. As always, we will go through the stats on the bike, then jump on the road and see how it is. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Right, so there you go. What a beautiful looking bike, and I must say I really love this year of colour scheme. They have actually gone to a new colour scheme for the 2025, I guess you could say, or the 2026. I'm not quite sure what year they're considering it, but they have just changed the colour schemes on both this and the ZX4. But I just think this looks a lot better. I really love all the colours, all the stripes on it. I think they all go really nicely, and it's a great looking bike, a great looking colour scheme. I love the 636, such a legendary bike, such a famous bike, and such a great bike over the whole of its life. A lot of history really behind this bike, so it is a very cool bike for sure. Let's go through some of the stats before we quickly get on the road. One of the most notable features I find a bit weird about this bike is it's got a quick shifter up, but it doesn't have an auto flipper down, yet the ZX4 does, which is a little peculiar, although I guess you could say that the ZX6 isn't a ton more expensive than the ZX4, so maybe that's where it comes into play. But yeah, that's a quick little notable thing I noticed immediately on the bike. Obviously it's got the 636cc liquid cooled 4-stroke inline-4 engine. It produces 124 PS of power, or that's 91 kilowatts, or 92.4 kilowatts with ram air. So obviously this has ram air system. It's got 69 newton meters of torque at 10,800 rpm, so proper high, obviously, with it being an inline-4 screamer. That's what these little 600cc sport bikes are all about, letting the engine scream, using all the revs. And this has an extremely high red line, 14,500 rpm, so yeah, a little bit lower than my 03, but nevertheless that is a ton of rpms If we go through some more of the stats, it's got a wet weight of 198 kg, so nice and lightweight. And as we get on the road, I'm sure we'll feel how damn flickable this bike is. That's what these bikes are beautiful for. In my opinion, I'll touch on it more in this video, but I think this is the perfect level of power for a bike on the road. Level of power, level of weight, everything about this bike. I think it is the perfect on-road, on-track, just everything sport bike. This, in my opinion, is, riding wise, my favourite. And this bike puts out 122 brake horsepower, so yeah, plenty of power. And the price of this bike is coming in at 10.599k, so relatively speaking, compared to your super bikes, pretty decent price for a bike with 122 horsepower, in my opinion, especially when you compare it nowadays to the likes of the new Panigale V2. That is just stupid money for a bike that I'm not even the biggest fan of personally. I'm here to ride it, but yeah, not bad value for money. And if you are interested in this bike, they are currently offering these with 0% finance over 3 years on a HP deal with a £1,000 deposit. So if you're after one of these bikes, now is the time. But anyway, the time you've all been waiting for, the time where I shut up, stop waffling a bit, is it's probably already 6-7 minutes into the video at this point, and all we've done is looked around it and talked through the stats. So we will actually get on the bike, which is the main part of how you see how a bike is, in my opinions. I always say this, the stats only say so much about the bike. The best way to see how it is jump on and go for a ride. So that is exactly what we will do. You'll have to excuse, it is a bit dirty, this bike. Obviously this is a demo bike, so it's not going to be the cleanest bike in the world. And as always, this has come from Bournemouth Kawasaki, so massive thank you to the guys there for always being amazingly welcome for me to come down and do a video. So let's get it started up. Obviously it's a stock exhaust, it's going to be quiet, but once you get it up to the RPMs, it does scream a little bit, so we'll be able to enjoy a tiny bit of noise, but thanks to Euro emissions, not a ton. But yeah, let's jump on the road. And I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record from all my Kawasaki reviews, but the second you jump on them, they are just so easy to ride, so approachable. The clutch feel, everything, they're just easy and smooth, and that kind of goes across their whole range of bikes. I don't think I've not ridden one modern day Kawasaki now where I'm not just amazed by how easy to ride it is, how smooth and all of that jazz. It's got a very premium feel from how smooth the engine is, and yeah, it's just a beautiful trait that most modern day Kawasaki's have. And obviously this being a sport bike, it's a decently aggressive riding position. I wouldn't say it's overly cramped or anything like that. It's quite generous for a rider like myself who's used to riding sport bikes. I don't jump on it and think, oh, this is uncomfy. It just kind of feels about as you'd expect it to be. You know, the bars do drop quite a decent amount, but comparing it to my 03, I'd say it is a little bit more comfortable. And it has got the quick shifter, like I said, no auto blipper. A little bit weird with the ZX4 having it, but maybe that's an update we will see soon. But this quick shifter is beautiful. It's not quite as incredible as the likes of the new Z900. I think this is probably a generation or two behind that, but nevertheless it is still incredibly smooth, very seamless once you're kind of going at some speed, and you can just go through the gears with not a problem at all. No need for the clutch. The only slight thing I felt there was between first and second, there was a tiny bit of kind of a delayed feeling, but yeah, this is, like I said, this is probably a generation behind the latest generation of quick shifter from Kawasaki, because that thing is absolutely incredible. But yeah, as far as sports bikes go, it's pretty manageable to be sat around in the general flow of traffic like we are here. It's not unrideable, it's not annoying. Yeah, sure, if you're not really used to sport bikes, you might get a bit of back pain, but relatively speaking, comparing it to other sport bikes, it's a very easy bike to just ride normally. And yeah, that's not why you'd be buying one of these bikes, of course. So let's cut to some more enjoyable roads. I talk about it quite a lot on this channel, but obviously Euro emissions mean that manufacturers have to make these bikes so quiet, so just restricted, and it's nice that along with this legal exhaust, at least for the rider, you do get a tiny bit of noise, to the point that it isn't just complete silent and complete vacuum cleaner. But obviously me and many others, if we got this bike, we would be swapping that thing straight out for a nice proper exhaust system to get that screaming inline four. As yeah, that's one of the best parts of a sport bike like this. You want it to be screaming, you want it to be loud. It's got the lounge paint colour, the green, you want that exhaust to go with it really. But yeah, it's nice that there's a bit of noise at least if you are wanting to keep the stock exhaust. About stating the obvious, but no prizes for guessing that this bike is incredibly fast, and I don't think you're going to be kind of going anywhere quicker on a 1000cc superbike on an acceleration from a red light like that. You're just not really, there's not a huge difference in it in that low end kind of acceleration there, and that is where this bike is perfect for the road and on the track in my opinion. It's not too much, but my god is this thing still fast, and you can really feel here, obviously I've got traction control on and all that kind of jazz. On this bike we have a low power mode and a high power mode, or full power mode they call it, F or L, and then you've got different levels of traction control, and that is it. Nice and simple, but I can really feel the traction control there, keeping that front wheel down in first gear. So obviously if you wanted to turn that all off and have a bit of fun, you can definitely have a nice play around with the front wheel on this bike in the air. And then again, a bit of an obvious statement, as not only is this bike a track weapon, it has a different side where this is also a wheelie god. Obviously the 636 is an extremely popular bike for the stunting world, and that is a mix of reasons. Of it's a very well balanced bike, the power delivery on the inline four is incredibly smooth, incredibly easy to manage, which is exactly what you want when doing wheelies. So yeah, it kind of can be anything, this bike really. It's a very versatile bike, you know, you can have a lot of fun on the road. You can do some track days and it be an absolute weapon, and if you wanted to, you could also turn it into a stunt bike. And yeah, there's so many different cultures of love for this bike, and that's one thing I love about it. And my god, it just leans in beautifully, so smooth, it has such a premium feel, and it just kind of glides over the tarmac. Yeah, that quick shifter is seamless. Such a snappy gear change in a good way. It just feels so responsive and gives a lot of character when changing gear, and yeah, it's just it's beautiful, so smooth, and it just gives so much confidence to lean in and power out of that corner as well. It really does. It feels like you kind of glide on the road, you glide around the corners, it just glides up to speed before you can even blink. Yeah, wow, awesome. Yeah, you know me, I'm gonna love this bike. To be honest, I love pretty much any Kawasaki I ride out of their modern lineup. You know, not every bike's for me, but for what the bikes are built for, they always do a pretty damn good job at a pretty good price point really. They're always competitive on pricing, and out of the Japanese, in my opinion, I find the Kawasaki have the most premium feel in terms of braking, smoothness, engine, all that kind of things, and that's kind of why I lean towards them. Yeah, you can really hear that bark on the engine when you open it up. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad in this video. It's just, I love these little sport bikes on these kind of roads. There's just such a good sensation on a screamy inline four, just letting it rev, watching the revs build, the sensation it gives you is just wonderful. And on a road like this, that with the flickableness of it, the lightweightness, the way you can just zip around corners without worrying the road, and how you can, for the most part, use most of the power on a road like this, it's just such a beautiful recipe. And it is just, in our country, especially in the UK, you know, in America, yeah, I get it, 1000 makes sense, there's a lot of big open roads, but on these UK kind of roads that we have, I just have so much more fun on these kind of bikes. And you see some of the bikes I ride, they are incredible. They are absolute masterpieces of engineering, they really are. And the kind of presence that a superbike gives, you can't be matched. And you know, don't get me wrong, we all want one because they are just the coolest. They are, you know, they look the best, they have the most presence. Bit of willy waving going on, I suppose, as well, makes us all want a 1000cc superbike. And I get it, I want one myself, and I'm sure probably one day I will, but I won't be able to get rid of my smaller lightweight bikes because they just are more enjoyable. And yeah, I love it. And the thing I love about obviously the 636 is because it's kind of a bit of a cheater 600, it's got that extra bit of 36cc, so it gives it just that little bit more low end grunt and torque, which means it's not completely useless down low. You know, you've got all that top end power, but you also have a bit down low that you can enjoy, and that's what I love about this as well. This 636 is my favourite for that reason. And I mean, you know, fourth gear here, it's not, you know, completely flat there. Don't get me wrong, you have to let it scream, and that is an amazing thing in my opinion. Not on all bikes you want torque, maybe on like a torquey naked bike, they're perfect, but on a sport bike you want it to scream, you want to have to let the revs build. It just adds to the racy feel and the sensation of riding a bike like this. And even here, you know, going national speed limit, you can let the traffic get ahead, enjoy the bike, go down to gears, accelerate up to the speed limit, and you know, you can have amazing fun. You wouldn't be able to do this on a superbike, you just wouldn't, you know, you'd be having to go past the car. Even doing that, you wouldn't be able to fully accelerate, and you would just be almost feeling like you're battling against the bike, whereas this, I just feel in tune with it. It might sound a bit cringy, but you just feel so in tune with the bike, so in tune with the road, you know, it just, oh, it is beautiful.
In the RPM ZX4, hello!
ZX Red, you probably thought about writing it. Why is that idiot waving at me? You're on a green Ninja, we should be friends. Right, I'm going to pull over, turn around, but temporarily we'll take a little stop, jump off the bike, and adore this beautiful bike in all its glory. Here we are, just looking at it. I love the colours, it's just such an aggressive looking bike. I would argue that I might slightly prefer the generation of ZX6R before this one, as I'm still a bit kind of on the fence about this front end headlight arrangement. Although looking at it here, it's quite cool, it's quite aggressive though. It's kind of got the air channeling up through there, got these little shot bits sticking up there. Yeah, no, I'm looking at it, it does look quite cool, but I think I prefer the slightly sleeker one of the generation before. But that's not to say much on this bike, it does look awesome. These indicators are a bit, I wonder if you could maybe tint them out because they look a bit kind of plasticky. But other than that, it is a beautiful looking bike, and we will yeah, take a proper good look around it. I just can't get over the colours. I like the little details, like on the wheels you have the little green stripes with the 636 logo on it. That kind of just adds to the bike nicely and sets it off. Kind of show you what I said about that front end, but no, I think it's quite cool. It's like a big gaping mouth there, taking all the air in, and probably a lot of bugs. So definitely don't think the bike would be getting hungry, the amount of bugs that probably go in there. And I love the big beefy swing arm. That's something that some Kawasaki's kind of fall on, like especially my Z900, other ZX like the ZX4, and my older 636. They kind of suffer where they've got just a really blocky looking, lazy looking swing arm. This one's nice, proper big and beefy, and it just adds to the vibe of what is a pretty decently big bike in terms of power anyway. So yeah, that is a very nice swing arm update from previous ZX6 and previous Kawasaki's. I think it just adds to it. Weird thing to comment on, but yeah, I really like the swing arm, and generally I love the look of the bike so much that I'm kind of desperate to get back on it. So yeah, let's hop on. Right, let's jump back on, get this baby started up. Now we do actually have some different rider modes on this bike. So we've got hold it down from sport, now we're in road. and rain mode, and then I think you do have a rider mode, which here, as you can see, like I mentioned earlier, you've got power, so you can go full or low power mode. Obviously we're going to go in full. So you've got the KTRC, you've got 1, off, 2 or 3, and yeah, that's all kind of nice and basic. I like that this bike isn't overwhelming with the electronics. It's nice and simple. You've got a low and high power mode, and you've got a few traction control levels, a few rider modes, which, you know, if you wanted to ride in the rain, it will pre-select how the bike, you know, handles. But it's nice and simple. I don't like bikes that are a million different brake control, race control, wheelie control, traction control, slide control. You know, it's just too much. I like it nice and simple, and that is what I like on a bike. So yeah, let's jump back on the road. And just like that, caught straight back up to the traffic. Easy enough, of course. Yeah, I find it cool as well. It's got nice things on it. It's got fuel range and little bits like that. It tells your battery voltage, your miles per gallon, all the kind of things that typically you wouldn't expect such a racy bike to have. But obviously Kawasaki understand that not everyone can afford to just do track days. You know, you want to enjoy the bike on the road as well. You want a good mixture, and you know, having this stuff on the bike doesn't really affect you on track, but having it on the road does benefit you. So yeah, some people might say, oh, I just want a proper sport bike, I don't want a fuel gauge, I just want it to be proper racy. But realistically, on the racetrack, none of that particularly affects you. You know, if it's distracting you, then that is a bit of a problem on the rider, in my personal opinion. But I feel like it's good to have both, because like I said, not everyone can afford to do a track day every month, and sometimes you just want to get out and enjoy the bike. So it's nice that it has all that for you when you do decide to go on the road. And especially for someone like me, I'm a bit OCD with my fuel. I'm always kind of too early to fill up when it goes from the bars, because I see it gets to 2 bars and I'm like, oh, I need fuel. And fuel range I absolutely love, as it just kind of helps me make the most of my tank a little more than I would just from the bars, for example. And yeah, having a bike without a fuel gauge like my 03 is incredibly annoying, so I think that is a huge bonus that this bike does have that. Yeah, I just feel so at home on this bike after such little time riding it, and it's just beautiful. It's not a single thing on this bike that feels lacking, in my personal opinion, and it is just everything you would want out of a middleweight sport bike. It kind of just does everything in such a good way, and it's exactly what you expect it to be. You know, it handles beautifully, it just feels so in touch with the road. The power is definitely not lacking, and it has the bright, loud looks to match what a bike like this should. In terms of modern bikes, this is kind of the pinnacle of sport bikes on the road, in my opinion, this kind of middleweight sector. And with this being the 636, like I said, obviously it's a Ninja, so I'm going to be biased, but also that little bit extra cc's and that little bit extra torque is quite fond for someone like myself. So yeah, needless to say, this is a phenomenal bike, and with the current deals on with this bike as well, it just seems like a great package to buy if you are in the market for one of these. Oh, come on, Kawasaki, everybody tag Kawasaki. Let's get me sponsored by Kawasaki. We've got some amazing views here. We cross over a nice little river that's very familiar for you guys on this channel. Let's rip it. She does go when you let that engine scream. Fun little lift there over that little brow. Yeah, people that say 600cc bikes are slow are very wrong. And just, oh, the way it handles is just beautiful. It's so lovely. You just can't get that same level of flickableness and handling on a super bike. Obviously 1000cc's. They handle well being a sport bike, but you just can't touch them in stuff like that. You know, late braking, proper angled handling. These are just dreamy. And yeah, the brake feel as well is really nice. It doesn't feel lacking. You feel like you can brake pretty late going into a corner. Yeah, it's the perfect recipe. And on track, of course, I can imagine this bike would be absolutely phenomenal. You know, and that's what's so nice. You can enjoy it on the road, you can take it up to the track and probably beat a ton of people if you've got the skill to do it. In fact, if you've got the skill to do it, you could probably beat basically everyone on a track day on one of these, especially in these UK tracks where they're a bit more kind of tighter and less long, if that makes any sense. Another thing to point out quickly, the dash. I absolutely love the dash on Kawasaki's. There's just something about it I think looks very cool. They're very minimalistic, they're not too much information being shoved in your face. They give you the perfect amount of information that you would want, and they do it in a way that just looks cool. You know, it's a very cool looking dash and it works nicely. I find the mode selection a little annoying on Kawasaki's, if I'm being really critical. You kind of have to hold this down for like a few seconds and it's quite slow to change through it all. And if you want to get to the rider mode and you're in sport mode, you have to go all the way through road mode, rain mode, then to rider mode. And then you have to hold that down again to change power. But if you want to change traction control, you then have to hold it again to go past that into KTRC. So that is the slight niggle of complaint I could give about this, and it's the same with my Z900. The mode changing is a little long-winded, probably a little more long-winded than I feel like it needs to be. But again, it's not a massive thing, it's just a little small complication that I guess, if I'm being really critical, could be made a little bit easier. Right, so there we go guys. Like I said in the video, massive thank you to the great guys here at Bournemouth Kawasaki for letting me ride this bike. It's been amazing, I've absolutely loved it, as you guys would imagine. Of course I'm going to love this bike. And like I did mention in the video, let me know, do you want to see me do a direct back-to-back comparison video where I take out a 2025 ZX6R alongside my 03 ZX6R, riding back-to-back, and see which one I prefer, and just give a general comparison of where this bike has gone in the 22 years of development of it. If you want to see that, do let me know. As always guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe. Join the channel if you want to see plenty more content like this to come. It's not going to slow down even throughout winter. I'm going to make sure to bring all the best content I can for you guys. So yeah, thank you very much for watching guys. I hope to see you next time.